Hey friends, welcome back to my channel and to day 8 of our 13 days of Halloween series here at Polly's Paper Studio. If you want to check out the first 7 projects, you can find links at the top of the description so you can get caught up. For today's project, we are going to bring together 2 of my most favorite things, which is bags from the Dollar Tree and loaded pockets. So this has all of the fun layering, all the fun texture and details, and it was so much easier to make than a traditional loaded pocket. So let me just pull some of these inserts out so you can see all of these great layers. We have tags for each pocket, folded inserts, and regular inserts as well. And for each pocket that gets a little bit taller, our inserts get just a little bit larger. So we're going to have plenty of room in here for all of our pictures and journaling, and there is some additional space in the pockets themselves if you want to add some additional flat keepsakes or mementos. And this was a great use of my pattern paper because I had a lot of surfaces to cover, so I really got through my collection quite a lot. So I'd like to make a loaded pocket out of Dollar Tree bags just like this one. Then stick around and we'll make it together. So I've got my spooky collection here. This is from Echo Park. Now, I don't have the cover sheet, unfortunately, because when I made my order, it was not available as a full collection. So I didn't get the stickers, but I did pick up single sheets of all the variety, including some extras of these cut apart. So I've got 3x4, 4x4, and 4x6. So I'll have a lot of variety to work with. Okay, so here's the paper bags that I got from the Dollar Tree. A pack of 3 was sold all together in a set, and then they also had these really cool handles on them. I will have to remove them for my project today, but be on the lookout for a project using these very soon. So in order to create a staggered pocket so that I can fill it, I did have to remove a portion of each of the bags. So I put the orange ones on the outside and the black on the middle, and I cut my first bag to be 7 inches, and this is what came off. It was basically the entire bottom flap. The second bag I cut to be 5.5. And the third bag I cut to be 4. So when I add those to the layers, I'll get that nice cascading pocket here. So first thing we want to do is seal up the bottom of the pockets and add them to the layer behind it so that we can add all of the fun things to it. So I'm going to have to cut some additional pieces of cardstock. These are cut to be 5.5 by 4, and they're scored at 2. So for the bag on the back, I'm going to have this inside and then wrap it around the back. I just put a little piece of my double-sided adhesive here, and I'll work it into just one portion of where and then I'll bring the flap back around to the back and just seal that up. So we can put things in the pocket now and they won't fall through. For the next layer, we do have this same process, except we're going to add one additional. So I've got my section that will become the bottom, and I'm adding it into the bag. And then before I wrap it around and seal it up, I want to add the pattern paper that will become the back of this pocket. So this paper measures 6 7/8 by 5.5. I just want to line this up with the front side facing the bag that will be in front of it, and then wrap the bottom around. I did add my double-sided adhesive to the bag. Then I will adhere these 2 bags together. And the top bag is going to have a little bit showing, so that will be a nice border around my pattern paper. So basically we've got this. The reason I did that is because when we put things into the pockets, I don't want them getting stuck on anything back here so that things will come in and out smoothly. So let's repeat that process for this third bag. Got my bottom section here. I'll add it to the front folded section. And then here is the pattern paper that will become the front of the bag behind it. And so this is 5 3/8 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to find the direction that I want showing on the top and then fold that over just like we did for the previous layer. Remove the tape, and then I'm going to line that up on the next section. And remember, we're going to get that very cool kind of pinked tattered edge at the top of the bag, so that helps us to get a little bit of extra texture. Okay, the next set does not have a bag, but it does have the pattern paper that will be the front of the bag below it. So we still want to add our pocket here, and I'm just going to remove the tape and then add my pattern paper to it and adhere it on to the layer below it. So we now have 3 pockets, but the bags behind the pattern paper section will also have a pocket, so you can put some additional items in there as well. So this is going to be the pocket in the front, and it's also going to be where I adhere the strip that wraps around, because up to this point we don't have anything holding all of these sections together. So I've put some additional tape. I don't know if I mentioned the pattern paper for this bag is 3 7/8 by 5 1/2. So I've got another strip of that black cardstock. It's 2 high by 12 wide, and I just want to line this up here. It doesn't have to be precise because we're just going to wind up wrapping this around. I don't want to do that part yet though, because I want to have all of my inserts in first so that I know they will fit in nicely. So the next thing I want to do is think about the inserts. And here's where I'm going to utilize the cut aparts and then have a folded insert for each section, and then a regular insert that's covered on the front and the back as well. So I want to use that 4x6. It makes sense to put that in the very back pocket because it is taller. So I have a card stock here, and it measures 6 by 8, and it's scored at 4. So all of my pattern paper layers, including the cut apart, are going to be 5 7/8 by 3 7/8. And you see I did finish the inside and the back as well. And then I have a regular insert that is 7 1/2 by 4 1/2 for the cardstock. And the pattern paper is 7 3/8 by 4 3/8. So for this one, I want to add it to the back, which would be actually the bag. So I'm going to just slip that down into there, because that way I'll see the layer of the orange bag and then my pattern paper. And then this insert is going here. So then I'll fold that up. So my folded insert for this second bag is going to be 4 high by 8 wide, scored at 4. And then my image cut apart is going to be 3 7/8 by 3 7/8, and that is for all of the pieces front and back. And then my regular insert has a cardstock of 5 1/2 by 4 1/2, and the pattern paper is 5 3/8 by 3 3/8, and that is just going to go here. So of course I am working down in dimension for those images. So the next one is going to be my 3x4 card. So the card stack for this is 4x6 and scored at 4. And the pattern paper, including the journal card cut apart, is 3 7/8 by 2 7/8, and I finished all the way around on that. And then my regular insert is going to be 4.5 by 4.5, and the pattern paper is 4 3/8 by 4 3/8. So I'm going to put those here. And now I know that I'll have enough room on the inside for all of those inserts before I seal up the back of this pocket stack. I will definitely be on the lookout for more of these bags in different holiday colors. It just really makes this bag super sturdy and easy because all of those fold lines are already in there. So let's just go ahead and wrap that around. I want it to be snug but not tight because I want all of my inserts to stay in there, but I don't want it to be difficult to put them in and out so I don't damage them. I also think that leaves a little bit of extra room for some additional mementos like pictures or flat keepsakes. So let's work on the back now. We need to cover this and finish it nicely with our pattern paper. So I just combined a couple of those patterns that were created as offcuts while I was working on the inserts. So my cardstock is 6 7/8 by 5.5, and the pattern paper is 6 3/4 by 5 3/8, and that just means whatever combination. If you have a full sheet, then you can use that, but I like to try and utilize my offcuts as best I can. So I'll take the tape off of here, and this is the place where I'm choosing to come in with my Tombow because I want to make sure that strip that I have wrapped around is held in place really well because that's kind of what is holding all of those pockets to plaid on the top. So I'll just flip that around and center that, and that's going to capture those strips and finish off the back. It also gives it a little bit of extra sturdiness too, so that's nice. So that tape will hold it in place while our glue sets up. We can continue to work along. So I need to finish the front flap, which is kind of short, but I think what I can do is extend the amount of space that I have to finish this with fun details, is to include a doily that I can extend beyond the top of that pocket. This is just that Canadian kaleidoscope. It's the Cherryland design, and I don't know if they still make it, but you could use a similarly styled one, and I decided to cut mine from black just because I thought it went well with this kind of spooky vibe. Another thing that I did was to add a die cut circle of that same black cardstock because there's lots of fussy little bits here, and I want to be able to put things in and out of that pocket without them getting stuck on these points. So I did go ahead and finish that, and I want to position this pretty high here because I have some additional elements that I want to include. So I think I'm going to put my first layer of tape here. I don't want to accidentally seal up my pocket, so I'm just going to measure that and see that will go on the pocket and not onto the insert behind it. So let me just take that backing off. And I'll position this pretty much over to the right hand side because I do have additional elements that I want to add. So when I've got that position where I want, I can just go ahead and press that into place. I do have a piece of pattern paper to cover that cut edge, and this is going to be 1 7/8 by 5.5, and that way it will stretch and cover those cut portions of the doily. I think you could easily make this without the bags, but it would take quite a lot of your sturdy cardstock, so I think it's just a good idea to take advantage of the value that 3 bags in a set that are sturdy would provide. So I think that would be a way to get a lot of thickness and not have to go through all of your super heavy cardstock. So I've got one more portion to add for the front cover, and this is just another part of one of those journal cut aparts. I clipped that out, leaving only a little bit of the wood grain portion that's printed as a border, and I put this on foam tape so that I can build a little bit of dimension. This is going to have to go all the way over to the edge so that I have room for my flowers. And this is one of the arrangements that I created when I did my flower tutorial for this series. I'll link that at the top of the description as well if you want to check out how I made these arrangements, and did include a little bit of ribbon here as a bow, and this is a bold black check, and I think it works really well. I'm going to go as far over as I can, and I typically would not want to overlap the edge at all, but just for the ribbon, I think it'll be okay. And I want to keep my adhesive to this small portion, once again, so I don't accidentally seal up the back. I try not to cover words as much as I can, but I think it will be okay if this overlaps just a little bit. So that's going to be the embellishing for the front cover. The next thing I want to do is bring in some tags, because we don't have a lot of extra detail up on these layers like the fun bits. I want to include some of that netting. I picked that up from the Dollar Tree as well, and this one is black, and it has a little bit of a sparkly spider web effect. I took some of the cut apart images and cut them with a tag shaped die that has a stitched edge. I cut two and I put them back to back so that this would be a little bit sturdier. And then I re-punched the hole. This particular die set has a smaller hole, but I need to thread this thicker netting through it. So I just used my Crop-A-Dile and I cut a little bit of an extra wide hole here, and I can just thread my netting through it. I'm being careful to keep the side that has the more sparkly sections showing. So I flip the one on the back over, and now I have both of the A sides showing on one side. Here's a little bit of my ivory burlap string I want to tie around here to secure these bits. Did you guys hear the furnace going? It is that cold. The furnace is running now. So I'm just pulling this together and then giving it a little bit of a knot. I'm gonna come back in and trim off that excess twine here in a bit, but let's just go ahead and add the additional layers first. So the first thing is a bow tied with that same twine, and I'm securing that with hot glue right on the portion where I tied it. I've got a bat charm on some string, and I'll hang that as well, securing that with hot glue again. And before that glue sets up, I'm going to press this button into it. That will capture the string for the charm. I'm going to come back in and give that a little bit of a haircut. Definitely want to take the string off and remove a good portion of that excess twine. I also need to give this a little bit of a haircut on top too, because it's going to be too long. So let's cut that down to maybe about 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches, and we'll see once we put it in. We may need to make an adjustment. So I've got this tag, another one here, and 3 because I have 3 pockets. This one I decided to add a little bit of the extra flower that I had created when I made the one on the front of the pocket. So I want to alternate these, so I'm looking at the background kind of and seeing which one will look more like a definite layering element in there. So let's put this in first, and then I'm going to alternate where I put that netting so that it kind of works through and creates a nice balance. So let's put this one in front because that little ghost guy is very cute. Okay, one additional thing I can add is this beautiful twill ribbon, and I got this from Really Reasonable Ribbon as well, and I pulled a black and an orange down because I think that will be a nice way to alternate the color. I used my tiny attacher here. I just put a couple of staples in. I didn't attach it with the stapler to the card itself, because I think that would be a little bit too much to ask from that tiny attacher with the little teeny staples to go through all of those paper layers. So once I have my loop created with 2 staples put through, I'm just going to attach it to the front with a little bit of hot glue, and that will hold it in place. So for this layer, it made sense to add that loop to my folded insert. But on this one, I think I want to add it to the regular flat insert just because of where it falls in the placement. So let's alternate to the orange. This twill ribbon does not really fray, but I still want to cut it at an angle so that I can be sure that it will stay in good condition. I'll take my tiny attacher, put 2 staples in, and then on this one, remember, I wanted it to show kind of in the middle. So let's attach it there. This is just an added extra. You don't have to include this if you don't want to, but I just like all that extra little bits of detail that show. Okay, there is the tab for that. And let's put another tab on this one, but let's switch back to the black. And this one I'm going all the way over on the left. And then for the last insert, we'll switch back to that orange, and then we'll go toward the right on this so that we can see all of these fun layers at one time. Okay, so now I just want to take a look and decide that maybe I need to cut this netting down just a little bit more so that it won't overlap too much on the layer that is underneath. Okay, so now it's time to add our sequins and time for the question of the day. So would you rather have a hot spice cider or a pumpkin spice latte? I am going to pick latte because I think it just really helps to signify that the start of the fall season when you can get them available in the coffee shops. And so I think that is part of what the fall and October season is all about. So I'm going to pick latte, and you can let me know in the comments what is your pick. So that is all for our project for day 8. If you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure you come back tomorrow for day 9. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, you can find links for the products I mentioned, as well as our social media sites in the description below. As always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.